Before she became a princess of Cambodia, Ouk Phalla was a simple young woman with aspirations to become an established dancer. However, she captured the heart of a prince and her life took a dramatic turn. So what was Princess Ouk Phalla's fate? And what were the events that disrupted the happiness she so desperately sought? Let's get right into it. Ouk Phalla didn't always have a glamorous life. She was born in 1980 to an impoverished family of 10, but even though the family wasn't wealthy, Ouk had a dream of becoming one of the biggest apsara dancers in the country. From a young age, she developed a love for the traditional dances of the Royal Ballet of Cambodia repertoire. To provide an insight into how big of a deal apsara dancing is in Cambodia, not only is it one of the national symbols of the country, but the dance played by women dressed in traditional attire is usually a narration of classical myths or even religious stories. Ouk began dancing when she was just 8 years old, and by 20 she'd already risen in the ranks to become one of the most sought-after apsara dancers in the country. It was during one of her performances that the then tourism minister Veng Serevut, a senior member of the Funcinpec party, saw her and fell in love right away. Ouk had become pretty popular amongst politicians, but she chose to marry the minister when he proposed. Unfortunately, their marriage was short-lived and lasted only 2 years before the high of the moment faded off. Realizing they truly weren't meant for each other, the duo divorced and Ouk was single again. While Ouk was trying her best to make a name for herself in the dancing world, Prince Norodom Ranariddh was going through issues of his own. In the late 1990s, he'd been ousted from his prime ministerial post, getting into a little bit of a problem with forces loyal to the opposition party, the Cambodian People's Party. At this point, Ouk Phalla was already becoming popular, and the beauty of her work with the palace's attached ballet company was indescribable. Interestingly, during her early days as an apsara dancer, Ouk's mentor was none other than Prince Ranariddh's only sister, Princess Norodom Bopha-Devi. Freshly divorced, now single and ready to mingle, it's believed that Ouk began a relationship with the prince during the production of a 2002 film called Rajabori. The movie, which saw Ouk Phalla as the lead actress, wasn't just financed but also directed by the prince himself. At the time rumors of their relationship began to brew, the prince was 53 and Ouk was just 23, an age gap that deeply upset a lot of Cambodians. And it wasn't just the age gap that was upsetting. The prince was already married to a woman the entire country loved. While still married to his first wife, Norodom Marie, who he married in the late 1960s, Prince Ranariddh and Ouk had a son in 2003. They named him Norodom Soterid. However, Marie felt like a woman scorned and decided to file an adultery lawsuit against the prince in 2006. Interestingly, Marie had used her power and influence in society to propose that a new law that provided a 1-year sentence for adulterers be passed. While claims that the law simply existed to prevent top politicians from embezzling money to fund their mistresses' expensive lifestyles, the law was passed, giving Marie solid grounds to file her lawsuit. The infidelity lawsuit was filed just weeks after the law criminalizing adultery was pushed through the National Assembly. Even though it was perceived by many people as a direct target towards Prince Ranariddh and Ouk's relationship, Marie was well loved and accepted by the people, especially because they felt she'd been sidelined by a man who she had given much of her life to. Naturally, the people rallied behind her, adding another obstacle to the prince's already deteriorating political career. The affair between Prince Ranariddh and Ouk came to the limelight in early 2006, and sensing that this is a great opportunity to take jabs at his opponent, Prime Minister Hun Sen publicly put Funcinpec officials on blast, claiming they allowed their wives and mistresses to interfere in state work. Hun Sen labeled Ouk in particular as a demonic fox, and shortly after, Tourism Minister Thong Kon announced that the princess's brother-in-law, Chandara, was fired. It was that same year that Prince Ranarid was unseated from his role in the Funcinpec party in a party coup led by General Nek Bunche. Unfortunately, this would culminate in a series of events that eventually forced him and Ouk into exile in Malaysia. Despite the controversy, some members of the Cambodian royal family defended Prince Ranarid, including King Father Norodom Sihanouk. Sihanouk had asked his adopted son, Prince Sisawat Thomiko, to produce a film about the cultural norm of having mistresses in Cambodia. According to him, the purpose of the movie was to say that every Cambodian has a mistress, and for that reason no fuss should be made about having a mistress in the country. Prince Ranarid himself also defended his actions in a 2006 interview where he expressed his love for Princess Ouk and acknowledged their son. Contrasting himself with unnamed officials who abandoned their mistresses, he cited royal tradition to justify polygamy, saying, "My father had 7 or 8 wives and they were recognized." The turnaround wasn't looking too favorable for Marie. She formally divorced the prince in 2006, and 4 years later he officially married Ouk. As Ranarid attempted a political comeback, Princess Ouk stood by him. The duo returned from their self-imposed exile in Malaysia just in time to welcome another son, Prince Norodom Ranawong, in 2011. Upon his return, Prince Ranarid was reinstated as the head of Funcinpec in 2015, committing to work alongside Prime Minister Hun Sen. Showing her support, Ouk was a constant presence at Funcinpec rallies, even joining Ranarid in dancing to pop songs to attract young voters. Even though they weren't the most loved couple in the country, there was no denying that their public displays of unity and resilience highlighted the enduring bond between them and their commitment to Cambodia's political landscape. Unfortunately, it would all soon come crumbling down at a very critical moment in both of their lives. Back in 2018, Princess Ouk was on the brink of a significant transition in her life. She was poised to run for a parliamentary seat in the upcoming national elections, and a win would have marked the culmination of her journey from a classical apsara dancer to a prominent political figure. She topped the Funcinpec party candidate list for Prey Veng and was reportedly eager to support her husband in a more prominent role. However, this aspiration was tragically cut short on June 17th of the same year when the SUV carrying her and her husband to a campaign rally in Prea Sihanouk province collided head-on with a taxi. The princess would succumb to her injuries 3 hours after the accident, leaving the 38-year-old's 2 sons without a mother. The prince, on the other hand, survived the accident with severe injuries and had to be flown to France for further treatment. Interestingly, this wasn't the first time something of this magnitude had happened to the duo. The first experience had happened 3 years before. After Prince Ranarid returned to politics in 2015, their car was struck by a taxi, causing significant injuries to the princess, including a head injury that required months of recovery. Despite the ordeal, Princess Ouk had made a full recovery and even began her tentative steps towards a political career. This time, however, fortune was not on her side. A former aide to Prince Ranarid, who later joined the CNRP, remembered the princess as a supportive spouse who offered her best assistance in both family and political matters. He noted that a hardworking politician cannot make any progress without support from their spouse. And the princess had even contributed ideas for party work and arranging rallies. At Princess Ouk's funeral in Phnom Penh's Wat Botumwadi Temple, Deputy Funcinpec Party President Yo Hokri shared his memories of her being a kind, friendly, and generous person to underprivileged people. Comparing the relationship between the prince and Ouk to that of Duke of Windsor and Mrs. Wallace Simpson, Astrid Noren Nelson, a political scientist at the Lund University and author of the 2016 book Cambodia's Second Kingdom, remarked on Princess Ouk's intense commitment to supporting her husband. In her words, "The heart has its reasons, and this is how Ouk Phalla will be remembered by the royal family." Unfortunately, Prince Ranarid would also pass 3 years after his wife as a result of complications from the accident. Following the couple's deaths, many Cambodians couldn't stop talking about how it was karma that caught up with Ouk for ruining another woman's relationship. Although we may never truly know the true story behind their deaths, what is certain is that in many ways, Princess Ouk Phalla appeared as a protective figure, bearing what could have been Prince Ranarid's fate. Her untimely death not only deprived the Funcinpec party of a promising political figure, but also left a significant emotional void in the life of Prince Ranarid and their children. Her legacy, however, depicts her dedication and unwavering support for her husband and her commitment to their shared political and personal journey. What are your thoughts on this? Karma or just ill fate? Let us know in the comment section below.